First on 5, a mother and son both charged with murder in last Friday's deadly shooting inside a local Home Depot.
Not this again. And turned around. I pulled my firearm from my waistband and I proceeded to shoot Brooklyn.
On a quiet August afternoon in 2023, the Home Depot in Pensacola became the scene of a devastating act of violence. Amid the aisles, 18-year-old Brooklyn Sims lost her life to gunshot wounds after being accused of infecting her ex-boyfriend with STDs. What seemed like an ordinary workday turned into tragedy as patrons and employees ran for cover from the enraged shooter. At the center of it all was Keith A.G. Jr., Brooklyn's former partner and father of her 2-year-old daughter. To make matters worse, Keith's mother, Sheila A.G., also played a shocking role in the events that happened that day. Leaving the victim's family deep in questions, how could a mother encourage her son to take the life of an innocent woman?
And if you look at the text message, she's telling him, make sure that you don't shoot me. And if you don't shoot her, you are a bleeping. It's like she was almost daring her son to take someone else's life. Who does that?
I've never been so mad in my life.
This is the haunting story of Brooklyn Sims, a story of love, betrayal, and a family dynamic gone terribly wrong. Brooklyn Sims was an 18-year-old with a smile that could brighten anyone's day. She was described as vibrant, funny, and full of life, young woman who seemed to have everything ahead of her. As a devoted mother to her 2-year-old daughter, Brooklyn worked hard to create a positive future, balancing the challenges of youth and parenthood. But beyond her radiant personality was a reality that was more complex than anyone could have imagined. Her relationship with Keith A.G. Jr., the father of her child, was a heated one. The two had met through mutual friends and quickly became inseparable, their romance filled with all the intensity of young love. But as time passed, their relationship began to grow weary. Arguments, brief reconciliations, and long silences became the norm. By the time they had been together for a year, Brooklyn discovered she was pregnant for Keith. Becoming parents so young wasn't easy. Brooklyn embraced her role as a mother, determined to give her daughter a stable life. Keith, on the other hand, struggled with the weight of responsibility. At just 20 years old, he was still figuring out who he was. His upbringing played a major role in shaping his outlook. Raised by a strong but domineering mother, Sheila A.G., Keith grew up with a sense of entitlement. Sheila rarely held him accountable for his actions, which left Keith unprepared for the realities of adult life and healthy relationships. By the summer of 2023, Brooklyn had drawn a line. She made it clear that she wanted to co-parent, but no longer desired a romantic relationship with Keith. She focused on work, raising her daughter, and building a better life for them both. Though Keith claimed to respect her decision, they still walked on eggshells around each other. The turning point came during the first week of August 2023. Keith and Brooklyn spent a weekend together during which they shared a moment of intimacy. It seemed like just another day in their on and off relationship. But a few days later, Keith began to notice something unusual. He felt discomfort, a sensation that he couldn't ignore. Curiosity and fear drove him to seek medical attention, and the diagnosis shocked him: gonorrhea. Keith couldn't believe it. He was convinced he hadn't been with anyone else. His mind immediately turned to Brooklyn. She has infected him. This revelation wasn't just about a health concern for Keith. It felt like an attack on his pride, his trust, and his fragile sense of control. Keith wasn't alone in his thoughts. He confided in his mother, Sheila, the one person he trusted most. But instead of calming him, her reaction only added fuel to the fire. Why did she encourage him instead of guiding him toward reason? And what role would she play in the days to come? Every step that both mother and son took from then on would lead to the dreadful day in August. Most people would expect a mother to offer advice or help her son cool off. But Sheila didn't do that. Instead, she encouraged his anger. In their text messages, Sheila went even further, helping Keith come up with a plan to confront Brooklyn.
Keith A.G. said he was going to kill Sims. A.G. telling his mother in a text, "I can't take it," expletive. According to Sims' family members, the two had been involved in a rocky relationship. Sheila Agee appeared to egg on her son. One text says, quote,
"If you don't come kill her, you a."
Another reads,
"I'll give you the address here,
meaning Pensacola.
and you can ride over here and do it so you don't have to do it in front of your daughter."
The apparent plan? To get Sims in Sheila Agee's car. This text reads,
"Don't shoot at my car. I don't want to die. Wait till I put her out."
telling her son she doesn't care what he does, just quote, "Don't shoot me." The messages continue, with each telling one another to delete the text, with Sheila saying, "Hold up, let me get it erased, the text, because I don't want nobody to know I was texting you."
On the afternoon of August 11th, 2023, Keith was unable to focus because of his growing sense of anger. He left work early and drove straight to his grandmother's house, where he stayed. He then went into his room. There, he grabbed a 9mm pistol, a weapon that would soon lead to unimaginable pain. Without pausing to think, Keith got into his car and began the long 90-minute drive from Alabama to Pensacola, Florida. As he drove, Keith's anger didn't cool down. Instead, he texted his mother along the way, sharing his frustration. Sheila didn't try to stop him. She didn't tell him to calm down or think twice. Instead, she kept pushing him, encouraging him to follow through with his plan. Meanwhile, Brooklyn was at work at a Home Depot store in Pensacola, completely unaware of what was coming. That day, Sheila, who worked as Brooklyn's supervisor, had even given Brooklyn a ride to work. She likely wanted to make sure Brooklyn was at work when Keith arrived. According to the CCTV footage, Keith pulled into the Home Depot parking lot around 1:30 p.m. He parked near Sheila's car and walked into the store. Security cameras showed him moving quickly, as if he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He walked down the aisles looking for Brooklyn with his pistol tucked in his waistband. When he finally saw Brooklyn, he didn't hesitate. He walked up to her and confronted her, accusing her of giving him an STD. Brooklyn, who was busy working, was frustrated. She had heard this before and didn't want to argue. "Not this again," she said, brushing him off and turning away. That was the breaking point for Keith. Seeing Brooklyn turn her back on him sent his anger over the edge. In a flash, he pulled out the pistol and started shooting at her over and over again. A total of 7 shots. The loud gunshots rang through the store, causing workers and customers to scream and run for cover. As a result, 2 co-workers were hit by stray bullets, but their injuries were not life-threatening. Brooklyn, however, wasn't as lucky. She was hit multiple times and collapsed to the floor. One of the employees who ran out to call 911 in the heat of the tragedy described what she witnessed 45 minutes later.
Well, I came back from a lunch break. I went behind the counter to go pick up my trusty iPad I use for surveying. And I was talking to a coworker and I heard pop, 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 like 5 or 6 rounds go off. And I realized it was a gun and I told him, I said, "Duck and cover." And I went right up underneath the counter, back behind the main counter, and I sat there Indian style, and I called 911. I spoke with the nice lady. She told me to stay on the line. I gave her all the information I could, told her where the shooting occurred. I didn't see it. I just heard it, and I realized it was an active shooter. And then I was talking to her, giving her the exact location of where we were, telling her about aisle 3 and the entrance, and then I heard someone was hurt, and I said, also, please send paramedics. And I stayed with her on the line until the police arrived and told us to evacuate.
After the shooting, Keith ran out of the store, got into his car, and sped away. The entire attack had taken only a few minutes. Brooklyn's co-workers rushed to her side, but there was nothing they could do. She died before help could arrive.
This is not about an STD, this is about his pride. The STD is curable. Brooklyn Sims' murder is not. 29 holes he riddled into her body. Didn't cure his STD, but it cured his pride.
At the end of the day, it was discovered the STD infection was all lies.
But we learned after the verdict, Sims didn't have an STD. Prosecutors gave the judge evidence that showed she tested negative days before the shooting.
And I know in the grand scheme of things it doesn't matter, but we just wanted to give Ms. Sims a little bit of dignity.
AG was sentenced to life in prison. His mother, Sheila AG, who worked with Sims at Home Depot, is also charged with premeditated murder, accused of helping her son plan the shooting. She'll be back in court in February.
The events of that day left Brooklyn's family heartbroken. They had lost a young woman full of life and love, a mother who only wanted to give her daughter the best future. The tragic events at the Home Depot on August 11, 2023, shattered many lives. Brooklyn Sims' family and friends were heartbroken. They had lost a loving daughter, sister, and mother in such a senseless way. Her co-workers, some of whom witnessed the shooting, were left in shock and struggling to process what had happened.
She was facing towards the aisle counting, and he tapped her on the shoulder. That's what made her look towards him.
Okay, and then what happened?
That's when he shot her.
AG's attorney says the state attorney's office will have to prove this was a planned murder.
We talked about how the state has the burden of proof in a case like this. They've brought the charges. They have to provide the evidence to back it up.
Not long after, Keith called 911 and turned himself in. Video of his arrest showed him calmly following instructions, but many were struck by how cold and emotionless he seemed. It was hard for anyone to understand how he could do something so devastating and show no remorse. During the trial, Keith admitted to killing Brooklyn but tried to explain his actions. He claimed he was hurt and angry after finding out he had an STD and believed Brooklyn gave it to him. However, this claim fell apart when messages from Brooklyn showed she had tested negative for the infection. Keith's anger and assumptions led to an irreversible tragedy.
I think the one that gets me is don't shoot at my car. You know, I'm gonna be in my car. Don't be careful. Don't shoot my car. Don't shoot me. And he says I won't. You know, it's just that cold reality of what you're reading. You know, and the intent that was involved there. I think that's really the most shocking part.
The court also revealed shocking details about Sheila AG, Keith's mother. Sheila wasn't just aware of her son's plan, she encouraged it. In their text messages, Sheila called Brooklyn cruel names and even pushed Keith to go through with his violent intentions. It became clear that Sheila played a major role in what happened that day.
He took the stand in his own murder trial Tuesday afternoon. On August 11th, prosecutors say he drove from Calvert, Alabama to the Home Depot on Davis Highway in Pensacola.
What the evidence will show and the state will prove is that his mission was to find, shoot, and kill Brooklyn Sims.
Meanwhile, burial arrangements began almost immediately for Brooklyn's memorial event. At a balloon release held to honor her memory, Sheila showed up, shocking everyone. Considering her involvement, her presence was very unsettling.
Investigators say the sometimes explicit messages show the pair plotted to kill 18-year-old Brooklyn Sims. Tanner Stewart learned the suspect's mother was on the scene at the time of the shooting.
As friends and family gathered Monday night to remember the victim from Friday's Home Depot shooting, a familiar face caught on camera by our crews. Sheila Agee, the mother of shooting suspect Keith Agee, was seen in attendance. Not long after this, she was arrested and charged with principal to first-degree murder.
String of texts, the son allegedly tells his mother he's going to kill Sims. At one point, the sheriff's office says Sheila Agee texted, "If you don't come kill her, you an expletive."
The text messages, if you look at them, paint a pretty scary picture of not only knowledge but also a level of assistance.
According to the sheriff's office, Sheila Agee goes on to text, "I'll give you the address here and you can ride over here and do it so you don't have to do it in front of the daughter that the two share."
You think that that's as bad as it gets, that the child's mother is killed by the child's father. That's terrible. And then come to find out grandmother had some role in this. Again, I don't think it gets any worse than that.
Monday evening, friends and family hosted a balloon release in honor of Brooklyn Sims in Mobile County, an event Sheila Agee even attended. Sheila Agee was arrested Monday night in Washington County, Alabama, but has not yet been transferred here to Escambia County.
By the end of that day, Sheila was arrested for her role in planning the attack.
I don't know that I'm aware of one that kind of took this particular type of a turn. They filled me in that, hey, we've got, there's someone else involved in this thing, and okay, that happens a lot. Rarely does it involve the mother. Rarely does it involve the mother that's actually at the scene and that actually gave a ride to the victim.
Sheriff's office says these text messages show the mother of the man accused of killing his ex-girlfriend inside the store actually encouraged her son to do it. Sheriff Chip Simmons on Tuesday revealed Sheila Agee and the victim, 18-year-old Brooklyn Sims, worked together at the Home Depot on Davis Highway, and Agee even drove Sims to work. Agee's son, Keith Agee, who shares a daughter with Sims, is accused of shooting and killing Sims inside the store last Friday.
In court, the evidence against both Keith and Sheila was overwhelming. Text messages, surveillance footage, and witness testimonies painted a clear picture of what had happened. Keith was found guilty of first-degree murder, as the crime was planned and intentional. Sheila, too, faced serious charges for aiding her son.
Agee was sentenced to life in prison. His mother, Sheila Agee, who worked with Sims at Home Depot, is also charged with premeditated murder, accused of helping her son plan the shooting.
As at the November 2024 court trial, Sheila Agee is facing up to life imprisonment. If you enjoyed this video, kindly like, subscribe, and turn the bell for more.